And welcome to CBS Sports HQ. I'm Amanda Guerra with you here in Tampa. We are very honored to be joined by one of the greatest coaches, Sean Payton, the head coach of the Saints. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me on. It looks like a sunny day there in Tampa. A little bit of wind, huh?
A little bit, but we're glad to see the sunshine. We didn't have a lot of it this week. Okay, I'm going to jump right into it because it's the question everybody wants to know is Drew Brees, is there anything you can tell us about him, his future, or maybe when we might hear something from him?
Yeah. Look, I think we're going to hear something sooner than later, within the next week, week and a half. Um, I'm sure there's that period of time where when the season ends, one of the challenges in our league, maybe different than some of the other sports leagues, is there's this suddenness, almost like March Madness in basketball, where you have a schedule for the next week, you have a schedule for the next week, you filled out itineraries, and then you're either Monday after a playoff game immediately into treatment, recovery, getting ready for the next game, or Monday exit interviews. The season's over and guys are packing. I mean, there's such a finality to it, and I think relative to Drew and getting away, spending time with his family, and the people that are closest to him. That process last year was real important, I know, for him. But I think that's something that we'll hear sooner than later.
Coach, I want to ask you about that last game because for us as fans, it was emotional watching it, especially the way it unfolded there for Drew Brees. I'm curious, what was that like for you? Did you talk to him beforehand, during the game, or after, just knowing that could be the last time for him?
Yeah, look, I think he and I were both probably asked that question. We did know it was the last game we were going to play in the Superdome. Um, Once Green Bay beat the Rams, and so I think that meant something because I don't know how many games in 15 years exactly he's played or I've coached. I think that meant something, but I think he thinks a little bit like me. He's an optimist. He's planning on success. So we're not going into a game thinking like, hey, this might be the last game uh, because we might possibly lose this game. The fact is, you knew it was going to be the last game in the Superdome. We were going to be on the road the following week at Green Bay, um, and I think that yeah, I think the fan watching has a chance to take it all in. The athlete in the arena is still competing. Um, you know, we go into the third quarter with a 7-point lead. Uh, we have a turnover there, with a chance to go up 10 or 14. In the end, I thought we played really well defensively. And then offensively, I just think the turnovers hurt us. And you give Tampa Bay credit for creating some of those. They played very well on defense. And ultimately, that kind of was the opposite of the game that we played them in Tampa last, where they turned the ball over. We took advantage of it and scored. And it's hard to win, especially a playoff game with 4 turnovers. But yeah, I think the fan sees it maybe differently than the athlete right on the field is experiencing maybe the finality of the season. But surely there's a sting to it, and it takes a while.
Coach, tell us about Zebra Technologies, and right after that, I need your pick to win the Super Bowl.
All right. Well, yeah, Zebra's partnered with the NFL. They're partnered with the New Orleans Saints. They're the group that, when you buy something at the store and you go to checkout and you swipe the barcode, that's Zebra. Um, but their partnership with the NFL does a number of things. I think it provides uh, some content for our productions, television wise, our broadcast partners. Each player has got a chip in the shoulder pads, much like the barcodes. The fields in the NFL, every field, every player are marked so that when the player enters the playing field or enters a stadium. We can track movement. So when you get next gen, like this player is traveling 22 miles an hour, that's a zebra generated statistic based on the chips in their shoulders. And then, it's kind of like that invisible fence you have for a dog. That same thing exists in each stadium. So each year we continue to use them more. Our engagement initially from a club standpoint had a lot to do with player safety, how long our players were on the practice field. We were able to measure that and not just estimate, but we knew distance traveled, what type of workload. I think yearly it's going to help us relative to officiating, ball placement, because the chip is in the ball right now as well. So that technology is pretty cool, especially as it applies to sports. But it's something that we use every day when we're in any type of store.
Really quick, I need a name here. Bucks or Chiefs? Who are you going with?
Well, look, I've been on a few different shows, and it's hard to predict. I would say this, man, the Chiefs are the favorite team. We know that, but history's told us to be leery of a team that's won on the road 3 weeks in a row to get to this game. It's hard to do, but it's happened. We've seen it with Pittsburgh, with Baltimore, and so obviously, Kansas City's the champion. They're going to be a tough out, but the path that Tampa has taken to get here was challenging. So I think it's going to be a great game to watch. I'm extremely jealous. That's the emotion you feel like when you're not in it. But I think that momentum that Tampa has is real and is something that is going to make it exciting.
Leery of a team that wins on the road. It may be just leery of Tom Brady in general. We can't wait to see you back in the Super Bowl at some point. Head coach of the New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, thanks so much for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ.
Thanks for having me a bunch.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.